Hello, everyone. In this lesson, we are going to be reading the second lesson of our first topic in our textbook, which is about the surface features of the geosphere. The learning target that we're going to be working on today is I can identify different landforms found on Earth, the forces and energy that make the different landforms, and how we model these different landforms. So for this lesson, it is a reading activity. So if you would like to use your e-textbook using the Savas website, you'll need to log into Clever to access that e-text assignment. If you would like to use your textbook and be able to write in it, we are going to be working on pages 12 through 21 for this assignment. The basic goal of this assignment, we are going to be reading pages 12 through 21, and we are going to be completing the following things as we read it. There's a connected activity that's found on pages 12 and 13, which has a map and a couple of questions for you to answer with that map. There are a number of maroon reading check questions that we will answer along the way. There's one math toolbox activity where we're going to be looking at some data in a data table to answer two questions. And as always, when you're reading text, make sure you are looking at the pictures. Figures 1 through 9 are the pictures and captions found in this lesson. Some of them do have some drawing activities and labeling activities for you to do. And once you've completed the full reading assignment, dependent on what your teacher would like you to do, you should either submit this into Schoology by taking photos of your textbook or by making sure you submit the assignment in the e-text option in your website using your iPad. So to get us started, you need to be logged into the Savas website using Clever. And so I'm in the e-text activity already. So we can see here as we're doing this reading, one, you've got the button here where our textbook will read the text to you. This is one great option that you've got. If reading textbooks is harder for you or you just don't want to do it, you'd rather listen to it, you can put in your headphones or earbuds and listen to the textbook read to you by their company. Guiding questions that we're going to be trying to answer as we go through this reading. There's 3 of them. What are the different landforms that are found on Earth? What forces and energy make up the different landforms or create those landforms? And then the third one, what are the various ways to model landforms? So we're talking about maps and things like that. The vocabulary is always listed here for you. If there's any words that you look at and you're like, oh, I have no idea what that means, you can always click on it and it'll give you the definition just like that. It'll even read it to you if you'd like and help you with the pronunciation. So once you've had a chance to take a look at that, we click on to next. And we've got that connected activity. We've got a map of the United States for you to look at. If you are doing this in your textbook, you can circle a few different places on there with the highest elevations in the western and eastern United States. Your teacher, if you're doing it on your iPad, may ask you to download this activity and complete it in Notability. There are 2 questions that go along with this map, and just like any other time that you see this notebook symbol, you can click on that, and that's where you're going to need to type in your answer to that question. If you're using your textbook, you'll be just writing on the lines that go with the question. Once you're done with that, there's some more information to tell you about topography of the geosphere and what topography is. It is the shape of the land. So we're talking about elevation, relief, and different landforms. Once you have gotten through that, there is a reading check question here where you're going to explain 3 ways that land can be described. And if you're not sure about that, you can always look back into what you've just read, and you're going to put your answer in the notebook. Moving on to the next page. The topic is constructive and destructive forces in the geosphere. It's going to give us some background information about both of those. Constructive forces first. There's this nice graphic that talks about how India was pushed into Asia, which caused the formation of the Himalayan mountain range, which is in the countries of Nepal, India, and Bhutan. And this is where we have the math toolbox question. We've got 4 different mountains listed here, where they're located, and their height in meters. And you're going to use that information to answer these 2 questions. And again, you're going to be using the notebook feature to type in your answers. If you've got your textbook, you're going to just write that in on the lines that are given to you. Your teacher may ask you to download this literacy connection activity. So they'll let you know if they want you to do that. Next, we're going to get on to destructive forces. And there's a reading check that goes with that, where you're going to be looking back at figure 2, which is the one that was showing how the Himalayas were created. Fill that answer in the notebook again. Now we're going to be talking about exploring the Earth's surface. So we've got some information about what a mountain is. Many of you may know what that is already. Plateaus and plains, coastlines, dunes, rivers, and deltas. And there's a reading check question for you to compare and contrast. How are dunes and deltas similar and different? And so you can fill that answer in your textbook. Hopefully on your iPad, you've got a notebook box here. On my sample, it does not currently. And there's also a nice graphic, figure 4 here, that asks you to draw a line between 2 different landforms and then tell how they're connected to each other. So your teacher may ask you to download and do that activity. When it comes to modeling landforms, we're going to be talking about different types of maps and mapping that can be done. Topographic maps are ones that use contour lines to show the elevation, relief, and slope on different landforms. So here we've got a topographic map of a mountain called Mount Grinnell. And using these lines, you can tell the shape of the mountain, and the numbers that are listed on there give you the different elevations. And so you can use these contour lines to determine the elevation of Mount Grinnell. And you're going to fill that in the notebook feature here. On the next page, we've got some information about how to read a topographic map if you haven't done that before. And there is an activity that goes with that your teacher may ask you to do. Then we've got some information about aerial photography, and so how photographs taken from cameras that are in airplanes, or sometimes they're using drones now more commonly than ever. But you can see a larger area and see how everything is laid out by looking at it from above. There's also satellite imagery, which is going to be photos taken from cameras that are found on satellites that are in space. We've got next GPS, Global Positioning System, which you probably are familiar with, that it is in your phone, it's in cars. People use that to help them get from place to place. There's also something called GIS, which is the Geographic Information System, which uses a combination of different data to provide information to people for everything from mapping out routes for trucks to the fastest routes for an ambulance to get to different places, but they use many layers of data to solve problems. And there's a reading check at the end of that one, and this is our last page after you've learned about GPS and GIS. So this is a longer lesson, so your teacher may have you break that up, but as you go through it, you're completing those reading check questions, and hopefully you're able to answer those guiding questions that we started with. Have a good rest of your day. We'll talk to you later.